I just came inside from filming one of my farmer's market haul bag hauls. That was a whole mouthful. And it was just starting to rain. I had very little faith it was going to turn into anything. And now it is full on pouring rain and I couldn't be more thrilled. Why do I talk about rain all the time? Trust me, I'm not that interested in meteorology. However, we are in the midst of a horrible drought where I am in the world and we need this rain badly. So I am at that age now where weather is very relevant to me. I digress. To the recipe. Peaches and blueberries. I've got these gorgeous peaches. We don't grow these precisely where I am, but just down the corridor in the Niagara region, they grow beautiful stone fruit. So these are Niagara peaches. And on the island, we do have beautiful blueberries though. And these I picked up from the farm stand, so we're going to use these. And then pretty much all the other ingredients are basic pantry staples that you're likely to have. I'm going to cheat today, which is a little unusual for me when I teach cooking classes and when I do these videos. I tend to do everything what I call Nona style or Bubby style, which is just using my hands, whisks, wooden spoons, doing it in a bowl. But I'm going to be a bit lazy today and I'm going to use a KitchenAid mixer to bring this all together. And of course, while these muffins are in the oven, I must occupy my time with something. So of course I have another book recommendation for you because I'm going to flip through one of my favorite authors' cookbooks while I wait for these muffins to bake up. So without further ado, I have my oven preheated to 350 degrees. And honestly, all this comes together in maybe like 10-15 minutes worth of prep. Granted, you have your mise en place out, which I always recommend. Pull all your ingredients together first so you're not futzing around the kitchen trying to find what you may or crucially may not have. You never like to get in the midst of a recipe only to realize you don't have something. So always read the recipe first and make sure you have everything. And if you set yourself up for success, confidence is the only other thing you need and everything will work out just fine. We have a couple of fats going on in this recipe. We've got some unsalted butter, softened, and then I'm also using grapeseed oil, but you can use any neutral oil for this. Or if all you happen to have around is olive oil, you can certainly use olive oil. So into my KitchenAid mixer, I'm going to put my softened butter. I, of course, will post this recipe on the website at enidgrace.com. It'll be under peach, blueberry, yogurt muffins, and all of your measurements will be there for you. So our softened unsalted butter, I've got about 75 mils of grapeseed oil. It's my favorite of the neutral oils. I suppose you could use canola as well, or I guess avocado oil is another option. Not too much sugar, only about 200 grams, but you can lessen this as well. It kind of depends on how ripe and sweet your peaches are and equally how potentially tart your blueberries are, so you can adjust accordingly. But about 200 grams of white sugar. And I'm also going to put in at this time a couple teaspoons of vanilla. You can use good vanilla extract, not the artificial stuff, if you can, or you can use vanilla bean paste, totally up to you. So those are the first ingredients I'm going to put in, and I just want to get the butter broken down and kind of get the sugar emulsified with the fats. All right, our fats and sugar and vanilla have been blended together. Then our other wet ingredient, which makes these super moist and just slightly tart, I guess is the best word, kind of cuts down the sweetness of it. I don't love an overly sweet muffin. I really just want to taste the fruit if I'm doing a fruit muffin, but yogurt. And this is very much your friend in the pastry world. Yogurt is great to put into cakes and quick breads. I also make a few different types of bread where I use yogurt. So this is very, very thick. This is actually Icelandic yogurt, but you can use Greek yogurt or Balkan yogurt, any other type of thick yogurt. Even labna would work really well. So I'm just going to scrape this into the mixer. And I think this is about 200 grams or so, roughly. But again, the measurements will be on the website. And I'm going to give these just a quick little mix just to incorporate the yogurt. All right, and next I'm going to go in with 3 eggs. I always like to crack my eggs on a flat surface and then put them into a separate dish first, just to make sure that you don't get any shells or potentially a bad egg. 2 and 3. And just going to put the machine on low and just add the eggs in one at a time. And just one little mix again, just quick, just to incorporate the eggs. And this will be all of our wet ingredients. Perfect. And then onto our dry. Regular all-purpose flour is about 300 grams. And to this, we're going to add some baking powder and some baking soda. So 2 teaspoons of baking powder to make sure that we get some oomph and lift for these muffins. So 2 level teaspoons, and then 1 teaspoon of baking soda. And this will actually react with the acid in the yogurt. And then we need a pinch of salt. It's probably about 1/4 teaspoon or so, but I just do a couple pinches. And then just my most favorite whisk, my little French whisk. It's perfect for little tasks like this. Just give this a little blend just to incorporate everything together. And then I'm just gonna, again, with this on low, just slowly tap this in. And I am just going to barely mix this until the flour is just barely incorporated. The worst thing you can do to a muffin batter is over mix it. And then you get kind of slightly deflated and kind of spongier muffins. So that is just barely incorporated. And remove this from the machine and just scrape down the paddle. Like so, get all of this goodness off. Perfect, okay. And I don't want to add in my fruit using the stand mixer with the paddle attachment, as I don't want to potentially bust the blueberries too much. So by hand, we'll put in about 1/2 pint of blueberries. I have more than that here. So I'm just going to add about 1/2 of this bowl. And then for the peaches, oh, I forgot one crucial ingredient, orange zest and a little bit of orange juice. So I'm just going to zest the juice of 1 large orange. And this is optional. You could also use lemon if you wanted to, or not at all. I just like that orange kind of zings up the flavor a little bit. It's very complementary to both peaches and blueberries. And always a little bit of citrus is great in both baking and savory recipes. All right, so we've got the zest of the orange in there. And then I am going to use just a little bit of the juice. This is a very juicy orange, as you can see, nice and juicy. So that's probably about 4 tablespoons, but honestly in the recipe, I just say the juice and zest of 1 orange, so you get what you get. Don't stress too much about that. And then for our peaches, I'm gonna use a few chopped up in the muffins, and then I'm going to just quarter a few pieces to put on top so that it looks quite nice. And for your peaches, depending on what variety you have, whether they're freestone or clingstone, it'll depend on how easy they come apart. Generally speaking, if they're freestone, you can just twist them and they'll come off. But if they're clingstone, they're a little bit more difficult. These are just perfectly ripe, both for eating and for baking. If your peaches were kind of more fresh and a little bit harder, you can certainly dice them up and use them the same. Don't stress too much about the ripeness. These are just ideal. If I were to bite into this right now, you'd have all that lovely luscious juice coming down. So for this, like I said, I'm going to do a few wedges like this, enough for the top of each of the muffins, and I'll just set those to the side. Just use a little paring knife to do this and just work your way around. I'll kind of show you up close. Just running my paring knife in up against the pit on an angle, and then you just take off all these little wedges like that. So I'm going to do that. I need about another whole peach worth of wedges to do this recipe. But for the pieces that I actually want in the muffin mix, I'm just going to pull the flesh away from the pit because these are clingstone peaches. And then just take just a regular knife and just break them down into small pieces, like just nice bite-sized pieces like so. So I'm going to carry on. I'm going to do 2 whole peaches actually in the muffin mix. And like I said, I'm going to do 1 more peach turned into wedges for the topping. All right, my peaches are all chopped up. So I'm just going to put these into my bowl. And then just by hand, again, just to protect the integrity of the fruit and not bash them up too much, I'm just going to fold in with my little spatula here. Again, just until everything is just incorporated. Make sure you go right down to the bottom of the bowl to make sure that all of your wet ingredients that were in there first are fully incorporated. And that is, again, just about where you want to go. Again, avoid the temptation to potentially overmix. All right. For our muffin tins, I'm just going to use a standard 12-cup muffin tin. You can make the jumbo ones if you want, which are the larger 6-cup ones. Or quite honestly, you don't even have to make these into a muffin. You can make this into essentially a coffee cake if you wanted to, or just use a regular bundt tin if you wanted to do it that way. Any tin that you happen to have around. It could be muffins, could be cake. Honestly, it doesn't matter. Use what you have, make what you want. I'm going to use the standard 12 cup. Again, oven has been preheated to 350 degrees. I actually don't like using the muffin paper things, but if you have those and that's your preference to use those. I'm just going to use a little bit of that grapeseed oil and just give a nice simple greasing to each of the little cups in the muffin tin. And then I'm going to use a ice cream scoop to measure these out. All right, we are ready for the oven. So lightly greased muffin tin, ice cream scoop. You don't have to use this. This sort of makes fast work of the job, but you can just use a couple of spoons if you want. And into the muffin tins. This is going to make anywhere from 15 to 18 muffins, depending on what size pan you use, of course, and then also how much you put in the tins. And I like to come just cresting over the top line of each cup because I like these to have a nice little cap on them, a proper muffin top, if you will. So I'm just going to carry on filling these up. What I love about this muffin mix in particular is they're very light. Like even as I was scooping those, you can hear and also see the aeration of this. They're not a dense muffin, which I don't particularly love. So this batch that I made for this size muffin tin is going to give me 15 muffins total. I put my second tray in that just had 3 in it, but this is my full 12. And so to finish them, just take your little wedges of peach and just plonk one on top of each little muffin tin. And then just for a little extra something, again, completely optional, is a little bit of turbinado sugar, just for a little bit of crunch and sheen, like so. I'm going to carry on and do the remaining 8, and then I'm going to pop these in the oven. These are going to take about 18 to 22 minutes at 350, depending on your oven. And while these are in the oven, like I said, I'm going to grab a book, and it's actually still raining outside. So I'm going to go up into the cookbook library and grab something to drink and read my book while these are in the oven. All right, the muffins are in the oven. I have the timer set, and I'm going to take a little me time. I've made myself a little afternoon coffee. And since I had peaches left, I cut up one for myself to enjoy. But of course, something in the oven time means I can flip through a book. And I mentioned I'm going to show you one of the books from my favorite authors. I think I have almost every book she has written, published, and it's Patricia Wells. And she lives in Provence. She is actually American and lives in Provence. And I have been collecting her books since the 90s, I think. And this is the one that I have pulled out. It is Salad as a Meal. And I just love pulling this book out, particularly in the summertime, because I make so many different salads in the summertime. And speaking of peaches, I will post a recipe to my website as soon as this video comes out for my charred corn, peach, and heirloom tomato salad. So this all kind of goes together. Patricia's book on salads, peaches, corn, all the good things in season right now. So I put that on the website for you along with this recipe. They'll probably literally be side by side. This book, a little quirk to know about me, I really don't like book jacket covers. The first thing I do when I buy a new book, whether it's fiction, nonfiction, cookbooks, whatever, is I take the jacket cover off. Some of them I keep because I like them in terms of the aesthetic of it, but honestly, I just like hardcover books, no jackets. If you ever come into my cookbook library, that's probably something you'll notice, is that I don't have any of the jackets on any of the books. So you can't actually see Patricia's face on this book. It's just a regular old book, but this is a great one. Anything by Patricia Wells is great. I should hold it this way so you can see the name. But this salad one is good, and it's a really fun flip through. Here's a few samplings from this book. Again, Salad as a Meal by Patricia Wells. I mean, some of these are very classic French ones, but sometimes it's always good to be reminded of the classics. So bacon wrapped goat cheese with this beautiful baby spinach. I just reseeded my second round of baby spinach, and it's actually doing well. So here's hoping that that continues. Look at this gorgeous one. White asparagus, a little bit of hamon or serrano ham or prosciutto, and you could use frisée or whatever kind of greens you have, and that gorgeous poached egg under there. This is a real classic, and it's just so beautiful to serve. And then I'll go to the next page because, of course, we've got a wedge salad. I just adore a wedge salad. There's nothing you can really do wrong with a proper wedge salad. It's a classic steakhouse, and honestly, look at that. Iceberg lettuce, crispy lardon, really good blue cheese dressing. I mean, again, this is a classic. Very few people don't know of the wedge salad. Well, at least not those in the culinary world or those that love food. But again, sometimes it's just great to look back on the classics. And of course, this book is filled with lots of new and fresh ideas with seasonal ingredients. But anyway, so I'm going to flip through this while the muffins continue to bake. They're done. Look at these gorgeous muffins. So I'm going to leave these in the pan to cool just for 5 to 8 minutes to ensure that they come out without issue. And then I'm going to plate them up. I'm going to enjoy one myself. And then I have some people coming around tomorrow morning for a little meeting. So I think I will save these and serve them tomorrow. Just give them a quick little reheat in the oven and they'll be good as new. In all truth, these are not cool enough to take out of the pan, but shocker, I'm being impatient because I have not had lunch yet. So I'm going to pull one of these out and just look at how gorgeous. I don't know if you can see it, but the steam is still coming off. And a little tear in shows the most gorgeous, moist, just perfectly soft crumb. Oops. So good. Even better in like 5 to 10 minutes when they're not quite so hot, but I'm going to be a champ with my asbestos tongue and fingers. Sorry, I shouldn't talk with my mouth full, so pardon the pause there. It's so good. It's the perfect taste of summer. Peaches, blueberries, super moist on account of that yogurt, not too sweet. I do not like an overly sweet muffin, so just that little bit of sugar is great. And this is a great little afternoon snack, a little merenda, or just a really light little breakfast, a nice cappuccino, cup of tea. It's perfect. Go to the farmer's market, grab yourself some fresh blueberries and some peaches. Make these including the bake time, it's like 25 minutes, half an hour of your day, and it's well worth it. There is not a grocery store muffin, in my experience anyways, that can compete with something like this. Give them a try. Recipes on the website, enidgrace.com, and please like and subscribe to this video. Bye.